to you. I try to close my eyes, clear my mind, and just listen to the wildflowers growing. With such whispers on the breeze, they don't come easy now. Over all this, spent my youth among the pines. They used to sing a tune so fine, and the wind moved like an echo, carrying their voices. But I saw it in a dream, monuments of trees as the air we breathe turned our lungs to dust. And the redwoods so tall, and all their all began to rust. No bend and sway at all. That ancient dance was lost, and the wind moved like an echo with a sigh in every gust.
Why?
So we made it back to Kentucky in 28 or 9 hours, something like that. We stopped twice for half-hour naps.
One there, one back.
Yeah. I drove most of the way back. Trenton gave me naps when I needed it. Yeah, that is exactly how it worked. You drove like a tank and a half down. Or you drove most of the way there. I drove most of the way back.
You drove the first part. You drove like 7 hours for the first part, then we switched.
Yeah, you slept for another 8. And it doesn't matter. But recap Utah. So the last day, we climbed a 4-pitch and then came down and then took a huge break in the middle of the day because it got super hot. Went to Del Taco because we saw they had 69-cent tacos. Ordered a dozen each. And then Trent got a huge Dr. Pepper and I got a quesadilla. And we didn't give that enough time to settle because we didn't learn a lesson from McDonald's either. But we went back after lunch and decided to climb the 9-pitch route in Rock Canyon, which is Cosmic Space Dust Lasers. We waited until it would be sunset when we got to the top. Got some absolutely amazing pictures. Yeah, it's a super fun route. Overall, the Utah climbing, though,
Sketchy.
yeah, it's no bueno.
Bad rocks, bad bolts, bad.
Yeah, it was fun to climb because it was multi-pitch, but everything else was kind of subpar. Like kind of like you're saying, like the bolts instead of being 10 to 15 feet apart, which is pretty standard, they were like 30 in some places. And so there was one route at Trilogy Buttress we started to climb, and I read online that it was R-rated, meaning the bolts are really far apart, so it said to bring trad gear just in case. And I did. I ended up using every piece I brought on a sport route that was trad. So we got like 2.5, 3 pitches in, and we're like, this is not worth it. We didn't come here to climb trad, so we threw a bail beaner up on one of the bolts and bailed. And The rest of it, honestly, the main routes on layer cake and job site walls, the bolts weren't super spaced out all the time, but they did. The faces of the rock were not flat faces. It came in and out of the wall a lot, and they just bolted it seemingly randomly, like left to right. So you had these huge traverses left to right, like 15 feet on a single route, and then also it could be in or out of the mountain, probably 10 feet. So you put all that together, and you had to extend more bolts than you didn't, and it was just exhausting to have to extend everything and climb 10 feet over here to clip, and then come back down and follow the line.
Pull 50-foot of rope up.
Yeah, pulling rope up through that was awful. And every time they would bolt the anchors. Like when you get to the top of a ledge, it was really nice because you had a big ledge, but you would walk to the edge of the ledge and then have the bolts like waist height. And so you'd end up pulling your rope straight over a corner instead of putting it up high like most people do, and you can kind of pull up and over the corner. So every time you pulled over a corner, there was so much choss and loose rock, because there was gravel everywhere. And I started pelting Trenton with rocks just because I was pulling the rope up. And so it was a ton of fun to climb. Super glad we did it. Honestly, Utah was probably more fun to climb than Colorado just because of the volume of routes we did.
Yeah.
But if I never climb again in Utah, it'll be too early.
I'm down with
Too
Rock
soon.
Canyon for sure.
Yeah, and Rock Canyon was a ton of fun, but I'll never go up a scree again, anything like that.
The approach, the hike-in's awful.
Yeah.
The walls aren't that great, but it was great to experience. Just not.
Yeah, it was, and I think I pretty much got, like when we were climbing there, the rock wasn't bad most places. Like if it was a frequented route, you could tell because there wouldn't be near as much choss and gravel.
But only a third of the good routes were frequented.
Yeah, and so like you climb one route and it's super good and it still has all those cracked quartzite crystals in them and all that stuff, and it looks sketchy, but when you grab it, it's super solid. And you climb the one next to it and it's awful. So it was kind of like very hit or miss on the route quality. Again, like that's not why we came though. We came to climb multi-pitch, really high stuff, and we did. We climbed a 9-pitch route the last day. We were going to climb one more day, but by the time we got to the top of Cosmic Space Dust Lasers, that 9-pitch, we both got up there and we're like, yeah, we're going to have to rappel half of this in the dark. I really don't want to come back tomorrow. So we decided we'd sleep in super late, pack up camp, and then we grabbed steak for breakfast at Outback and came on back starting Friday. So we just figured it up in the car, recapped the trip. We left Friday night, drove until we got to Colorado on Saturday, climbed a single pitch route in Colorado. The next day, which would be Sunday, we climbed a 4-pitch and a 5-pitch route in Colorado, and then started on People's Choice, got 2 pitches in, and got rained out. Went to the laundromat that night, dried it all out, climbed again the next day, which would be Monday, finished People's Choice, went back to camp, slept it off, left around dinner time for Utah, got to Utah at 4:30ish Tuesday morning. Is that right, Tuesday morning?
Yeah.
Slept till like 9, got up, hiked around, got lost in Rock Canyon, took a long break for lunch, came back Tuesday night, climbed a route, Ledgerism, I believe. We don't really know what we climbed at Rock Canyon, though. Nobody does. And Wednesday we came back. That's when we did the sketchy stuff at Trilogy Buttress that we bailed on because we didn't like it, because we had to use so much trad gear. Then we climbed another route that afternoon. Wednesday we climbed a couple of small multi-pitch routes, like 4-pitch at Layer Cake and Job Site. Thursday came back, did one in the morning, got Del Taco for lunch, and then came back and did Cosmic Space Dust Lasers. Friday, woke up, packed up camp, grabbed Outback, drove home.
Yeah.
We figured it up, it was 40, you say 41?
40 plus routes.
41 pitches, and every pitch was close to 100 feet. Most of them were closer to 120. Like we almost ran out of draws on some of them. We did run out of sport draws, and some of them had to use extended draws on others, which we used a few of them intermittently anyway. But that was a lot of climbing in a short amount of time. We're both pretty pooped.
Yep.
Yeah, it was super fun. I will say though, while we were climbing, both in Colorado and especially in Utah, there was only like the whole week and a half or week and 2 days or whatever it is, there was only 1 or 2 moves that we did on routes out of everything. So like maybe 2 moves out of everything we climbed that we were like, oh, that was cool. And on a weekend in a gorge, there's usually like 2 of those for every route. And I'm super glad we did multi-pitch, but I got that out of my system now, I think, and I'm more than content to stay in the gorge. It's super well bolted, super well guide booked. You don't hardly ever have to bail on anything. All the popular stuff, there's musty hooks at the top, so you don't even have to clean it. There's just so much in it. It really gave me an appreciation for the Red River Gorge, a ton. I mean, there was not a single roof that we saw that was climbable below 11A for us. Not a single one.
There's some of that's because they bolt. Like whoever bolts out there is an idiot, just because they don't know what to look for. And
The Colorado bolting was okay. The Colorado bolting actually was bolted super close together, like 8 feet,
Yeah.
super safe. Some of the bolts were loose, but there were so many bolts that you could skip like 2 and still be totally safe because they were so close together. And all it takes is a wrench going up there and tightening it up. That's something anybody can do. But Utah was just... And Rock Canyon may not be a good case study to apply to all of Utah, but if it's half as bad as Rock Canyon was, I don't ever want to climb in Utah again.
Yeah.
And it wasn't bad. Like, if somebody asked me whether they want to do some multi-pitch, I would tell them Rock Canyon just because there's so much, such a small area, but it's something you do once, say you did it, and then you're done. Like, you don't have to go back.
Yeah.
Oh, that was exhausting.
Yeah, I took a fat shower.
Yep. Spend the rest of the weekends, the rest of my life in Red River Gorge.
Yeah.
I guess that concludes the 2021 Colorado, Utah, out west multi-pitch rock climbing trip.
Mm-hmm.
My truck made it. It's making some funky sounds, but I'll throw up the stats for gas mileage and how far we traveled and all that stuff, because we kept track of it all the time. But yep, good old Whitey is ready to die. She earned it.
You know what?
Anything else?
That's it.
GoPro, stop recording.